driving along, there was a leak on the drain on the turbo. So we were at a hose clamp, so I took a hose clamp off the truck. They were driving along and I thought, I better replace that hose clamp. So, better do that now. That didn't even leak. Good old Cummins. Good enough. Okay, so I just zigzagged all the way through a hotel parking lot just to see this space here on the trailer, but I gotta tilt the camera sideways here. I have my vent that's probably gonna hit. It should just crumble and shatter because it's all plastic. This is V&R's trailer, and before we left, one of the guys said you need to change the vent, so he gave me a new vent, and I thought, no, you know what, we're probably gonna have such tight clearance at the travel lodge down in Sebring that I'll remove it when we get there and install the new one when I get home again. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, even though the trailer is tight, there is room there, but I did not do that damage right there. See the dent in there, and then the crack right there. I made this little mark right here. I don't think I can back up all the way through where I weaved. I was driving on sidewalks and stuff to get out. Screwdriver? Do you have a piece of paper? So we got it. So it was a bet as to what would be quicker, backing up around the entire building with a bunch of expensive cars, or trying to squeeze it underneath this thing. It's a bunch of one-way streets and it's really, really busy, so I didn't feel comfortable backing out onto the road. I guess we took a gamble and probably ended up spending the same amount of time, but no damage. One little mark on the wood there, and the owner said everything was fine. So what did that take? An hour?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, an hour. That sucks. But anyway, we got it. So I've never had this happen before, but this bleeder is so rotten, it's actually running down my bleed screw. So I thought it was a big issue. It's really only like $1.50 and about 20 seconds to change it, as long as we don't snap it off inside the caliper. So I don't feel so bad doing that in the parking lot. That used to be a bleed screw. Luckily, $3 later, we'll try it again. And thanks to Fun for your bleeder, which is used every 2 hours on this trip. So in Daytona, it rained as soon as we got there. Then it stopped raining just as we were ready to go out. So then we were waiting to get on the track. It started raining again. So we did a couple laps without being able to see. We rain-xed it. But I asked somebody there if they could go grab me a wiper. We brought a wiper, but I didn't realize that somebody took the wiper off my truck until it started raining here. And there's no wiper on the window, so we'll put a wiper back on again too. Okay, so this is my 2005 regular cab long box 3/4 ton that we swapped the 6-liter out to a 5.9 12 valve P-pump Cummins and the automatic to a NV 4500 5-speed manual. I don't go over the scales often without a trailer behind me, but from what I can remember, the truck weighs roughly 7,000 pounds. I checked the door, but the doors are off of the hybrid truck, so that doesn't work. We had the cap on the back and a bunch of gear in the back, all of our luggage and whatever else, and then the trailer we were pulling is a 22-foot trailer but only weighs about 1,600 pounds. It had an extra layer of wood in there for the snowmobiles, and then the Audi weighs about 3,500 pounds. And we had a pile of tools and oils and whatever else with us. So I think pulling, we were about 14,000 pounds, maybe somewhere around there. It has a 373 rear end in it. I don't know what the overdrive is in it. We were getting about 14 miles to the gallon, 15 miles to the gallon. It was hard to tell because my gauges quit as we were going down there. I wasn't too panicky because the Cummins is never overheated. The only time it overheats is when you're stuck in traffic and not moving. But as long as you're moving, I've never ever had an issue with the engine overheating. If we lost oil pressure, then we're screwed anyway, and the engine's toast. And by the time you generally see that needle go, it's too late anyway. So we drove with blind confidence. Filled up every 6 hours or so. Doing about 110, 115 kilometers an hour, which is about 70, 75 miles an hour. I bought a 321 rear end for it and was going to install it until I pulled the trailer with the car in it. And I thought, it does grab a pile of wind. So for this trip, I left the 373s in there and left it at that. Now I will be putting the 321s in there once we start tuning the engine. This engine has about 500,000 kilometers on it, so about 300 and change miles, but it is completely stock. No fuel plate, no governor springs, nothing done to the engine, aneroid valve or anything. I wanted to get some tuning or just get a feel for it driving it as is. And then once I put the 321 in there, I really can't do that pulling that trailer unless I wake up the engine a little bit. So stick around, we're gonna start modding the Silverado. I have the governor springs, we're gonna get a fuel plate for it, an exhaust brake on it, and if the funds allow, we'll even pull the pump off and get the pump tuned, get it rebuilt, because I think it starts okay, but it doesn't run on all the cylinders right away until it warms up a little bit. So I checked all the injectors on it already. The injectors are fine. We're gonna go to the pump next. Now, how did it do pulling it? It was enough pulling it. You can definitely tell the trailer was behind it, but we made it in a straight shot from Ontario to Florida, 25 hours of driving minus an hour and a half of sleeping in a parking lot and pit stops. Very happy with how it did, full confidence, didn't doubt that we were gonna get there. And it's pretty basic that as long as it's got fuel, it's gonna keep running. We ran out of fuel once, and that was okay because I needed a nap anyway. And well, Steve went and grabbed us some fuel. He followed us in his F-150. We did lose brakes on the caliper there. It was weird. Never seen that before. The bleeder was leaking. It was tight, but put a new bleeder in it and bled the brakes, and it was good to go again. So yeah, overall, I'm very, very happy with how it worked. The gauges, I replaced the gauge cluster with another cluster. It's not the cluster. So the only gauge that's reading is my battery, and all the other gauges, fuel, temp, oil, they all went to nothing. So we got to figure out that gremlin. We'll be looking at it a little closer in the next month or so, start doing a little bit of updating to it. It's a project truck. It needs a little bit of attention once in a while. But overall, very, very happy with my old girl. Total, it's got about 300,000 kilometers on it now. Yeah, it's smooth as can be. It's a nice ride, even with the trailer behind it. It didn't shake you out of it. I drove the entire time except for an hour and a half when when Aaron drove Steve's truck and Steve drove my truck. But I just a little bit leery about anybody driving my stuff for some reason. So yeah. Stick around for what's next for the Silverado, and if you want to see the entire swap, we've got the entire documentation on what we've done to this truck already to get the Cummins in there. And yeah, stick around. We got a lot more Cummins swaps coming up and cool stuff happening this old girl. So I'm not planning on getting rid of this at any time soon. So here we go. Okay, so we're home again, and I call that a big success. Actually, if you go back to one of our first videos, before we even started building the Audi, I talked about wanting to stop. That's why we put big brakes on it, because I want to come back home again. We are actually home. Not to a great situation because the basement flooded, so we're just pumping out the basement right now. But I'll go take care of the rest of that in a minute once the water level comes down below. I think I just caught it in time before it hit the drywall, so not a big deal. Aaron keeps backing up because the shoes are getting wet. But great, even though the Audi didn't perform as well as most of you hoped, it did a bunch of stuff that I really needed it to do. One, if you go back to the videos when we first started building the Audi, I said I needed to come back home again, and safety was a big thing. Those brakes worked really, really well. There was zero issues with the brakes, so thanks for GVL for making those brackets and not having any issues with them. Thanks to Kyle for the roll cage, made everybody feel a lot more comfortable, and also to Pyatt Spring and Alignment for setting up the race car, and Bennett for the shocks and the coilovers. The car handled phenomenally well. So from here on in, we're going to take care of some unfinished projects in the shop, take care of those while we figure out what needs to be done with the Audi. We're going to be talking to different companies about better fuel management. We got some vapor lock, figure out the water pump issues and the cooling system, make sure that that's all up to par. I came home to a flooded basement, which is what all this water is. We are pumping that out empty right now. I caught it just before it hit the drywall, I think. So we lost some cardboard and whatever else in the basement. Not a big deal. I gotta go take care of that. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, tell your friends. Check out all the other YouTube channels. They were fantastic people. Nothing bad to say about a single YouTuber there. We had a riot, and hopefully we can do this again soon. We're gonna go spend some quality family time. The car can wait. See you guys later.